The space station floated quietly above a blue-white planet, its long silver wings catching the soft light of a distant sun. People from many worlds walked through its halls, carrying tools, supplies, or strange glowing objects from their cultures. Among all these travelers moved a young Vulpine girl named Lyra, walking with careful steps and watching everything with wide amber eyes. She had arrived only a week ago after being rescued from a collapsing mining moon. Her home culture had not treated her kindly. They had taught her to obey, to stay silent, and to never ask for comfort. Because of that, the station felt like a different universe. Humans smiled too easily, spoke too loudly, and acted too kindly in ways she did not understand. Each day left her confused and unsure of how she was supposed to behave. Beside her walked Ethan, the human, assigned to help her adapt to the station. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and calm. His uniform was simple, and his steps were slow, so she could keep up. He didn't speak much unless she asked something. He didn't stare at her the way others sometimes did. He didn't rush her. That alone made her feel less afraid. Today he was guiding her to the recreation room, a place where rescued people could relax and sit quietly. Lyra wasn't sure she liked the idea. Relaxing felt like something dangerous. When she relaxed in her past life, someone always shouted at her to stand up straight or follow an order. As they walked down the long metallic corridor, she kept her hands clasped close to her chest and her tail wrapped around her waist. Every few steps she glanced behind them, checking if anyone was following. Ethan noticed but didn't comment. He understood that trusting anyone was still hard for her. When they reached the door to the recreation room, Lyra slowed down so much she nearly stopped. Ethan paused and waited for her to move again. She didn't. Her ears twitched nervously as she stared at the door like it was something dangerous. Ethan bent down slightly so he wasn't towering over her. "You okay?" he asked in a soft voice. She forced her shoulders back. "I'm fine," she whispered, though her voice trembled. He shook his head lightly. "You don't have to pretend with me. If something scares you, you can tell me." Her cheeks heated beneath her fur. She wasn't used to anyone noticing her feelings, especially not someone who cared enough to ask. She kept her eyes on the floor for a moment, then looked up slowly. "Humans look at me strangely sometimes." Ethan blinked. Strangely, how? She hesitated, gathering courage to say something she had wanted to say for days. "Like I'm a pet," she said quietly. "Like I'm something cute to look at. Some humans even tried to touch my ears without asking before." Her voice cracked slightly. I don't like that." Ethan's face tightened with understanding. "That's not okay," he said firmly, "and anyone who did that was wrong." She studied him carefully, checking if he really meant those words. Ethan's expression stayed warm and steady, and something inside her chest relaxed a little. He opened the door gently and motioned her to go ahead. "You can sit anywhere you like. Nobody here will bother you. And I'm right here if you feel uncomfortable." Lyra took a slow breath and stepped inside. The recreation room was quiet and empty, except for a couch near a large window. Stars filled the entire view. Thousands of tiny lights floating in deep black space. Lyra stared at them, mesmerized. Back on her homeworld, she had rarely seen the sky, and when she did, she didn't have time to appreciate it. Ethan walked to the couch and sat down. He didn't command her to join him. He didn't tell her what she should do. He simply waited. Lyra stood near the wall for a long moment, unsure. She didn't want to sit too close to him. She also didn't want to stand alone like a nervous child. Slowly, she walked toward the couch. Her tail flicked from side to side, showing her confusion. She sat at the far end, putting a large amount of space between them. Ethan didn't comment. He just kept looking out the window, giving her time. Minutes passed in silence. Lyra's ears twitched gently as she listened to the low hum of the station and the soft breaths of the human beside her. The silence wasn't uncomfortable. It felt peaceful. She didn't know how to handle that feeling. After a few more minutes, she noticed she had begun leaning slightly toward him. She didn't mean to. Her body simply reacted to the warmth beside her. Humans felt warm in a way her species didn't. Calm, grounding warmth. She felt it even from a small distance. Ethan said nothing. He didn't move. Didn't glance at her. Didn't make her feel watched. That made it easier for her to shift a little closer. Only a few centimeters. But it felt like a big step to her. Another long moment passed. She felt her shoulders finally relax, as if her body had stopped expecting danger. Her tail unwrapped from her waist and rested gently on the couch cushion. She didn't notice she was moving closer again, until Ethan suddenly turned a tiny bit, and she froze. He hadn't tried to touch her. He hadn't even looked directly at her. But she panicked anyway, pulling her tail tight around her legs. He spoke softly. "I won't do anything you don't want. You set the rules, Lyra." Her chest tightened with an emotion she didn't know how to name. Trust was a heavy thing. She wasn't sure she deserved it. She stared at him, her amber eyes wide. "My people never gave me rules," she whispered. "They just told me to obey." "You're not there anymore," Ethan said gently. "And you're not anyone's property here." The word property made her flinch. She wrapped her hands around her tail and stared down. "Sometimes, some humans stare at me like I'm something small and cute, like I'm a pet they want to pick up." She swallowed hard. "I don't want you to think that." "I don't," Ethan said immediately. She slowly raised her eyes, searching his face. His expression was honest, calm, respectful. There was no judgment in his eyes, no greed, no desire to own or control her, just quiet understanding. A warm breath left her chest. She didn't know she had been holding it. A faint vibration ran through the station floor, a soft rumble like distant thunder. Lyra's ears shot up sharply, and before she could stop herself, she jumped sideways and pressed against Ethan's arm. Her heart thumped fast. She froze, realizing what she had done. She immediately tried to move away. "Sorry," she whispered, tail puffing like a frightened puffball. "I didn't mean to. I don't know why I—" Ethan raised his hands gently, palms open. "It's okay," he said calmly. "It was just the maintenance engines. They do that sometimes." She was shaking. Not much, but enough that he could see it. She hated showing fear. Her homeworld punished fear. But she couldn't stop it. "You're safe," Ethan repeated softly. Lyra's breathing slowed. She didn't move away as quickly this time. Instead, she remained close. Not touching him, but not pulling completely back either. Her tail unpuffed slowly, and she felt the warmth of his presence again. The silence returned. But now it felt different. Softer. Lyra's body relaxed little by little. Like her instincts finally understood she was not in danger. And then it happened. Without thinking, without planning, without even noticing when she started moving, Lyra shifted sideways and gently settled onto Ethan's lap. Ethan froze like a statue. Lyra froze harder. Her heart nearly stopped. A full second passed. Then two. Then she realized what she had done. She jumped up so fast her tail whipped behind her. No, I wasn't. I didn't mean to do that," she stammered. Every strand of fur on her body felt hot with embarrassment. "I wasn't thinking. I'm not. I told you, I'm not your pet." Ethan blinked, still surprised. But he didn't laugh or scold her. "Lyra," he said gently. "It's okay." "In Lyra." "God pros." She pressed her hands to her cheeks, mortified. "You must think I'm strange," she whispered. "I don't," he said again, this time even more firmly. "And you're not a pet. Not to me. Not to anyone here. You're your own person." Her breath caught. Nobody had ever said those words to her before. Her eyes softened, and her tail slowly lowered. A warm feeling spread through her chest. Something she had never felt so strongly before. She looked at Ethan, and this time she didn't look away quickly. She let herself believe him. For the first time since arriving on the station, she truly felt safe. The next morning on the station began quietly. Soft lights warmed the halls, and workers moved about preparing for their shifts. Lyra woke up in her small room, blinking sleepily at the ceiling. For once, she hadn't woken in fear. She hadn't dreamed of commands or punishments, or dark mining tunnels. Instead, her mind kept replaying the moment she had accidentally sat on Ethan's lap. Every time she remembered it, her fur warmed with embarrassment. She groaned softly and hid her face under the blanket. "Why did I do that?" she whispered to herself. "Why does he make me forget everything?" Her ears twitched at a soft beep from her door. She quickly sat up and wrapped her tail around her waist, trying to look normal, even though her heart was still racing. "It's Ethan," a calm voice called from outside. Lyra froze for a moment, remembering how she ran out of the room last night without saying goodbye. She stood, straightened her fur with shaking hands, and opened the door. Ethan stood there with a warm smile and 2 small food trays. Lyra blinked in surprise. "Breakfast," he said simply. "I thought you might not be ready to eat in the cafeteria yet." Her ears slowly lifted in a small, shy gesture. "You brought it for me? And for me," he added, raising the second tray. "But yes." She stepped aside and let him enter. Her room was small but clean, with a bed, a table, and a window showing bright space beyond. Ethan set the trays down and waited for her to sit first. Lyra chose the far side of the table out of habit, but she wasn't as tense as she had been before. They ate in quiet. The food was simple: soft bread, warm soup, and fruit from Earth. Lyra watched Ethan eat for a moment. Noticing how relaxed he was, he never rushed, never stared, never pressured her. That made her chest feel warm, and she didn't know why. After a few minutes, Ethan looked at her. "How are you feeling today?" Lyra swallowed her bite and looked down shyly. "Better," she said softly. "I didn't feel scared during the night." "That's good." She fidgeted with her spoon. "About yesterday," she began, ears flattening in embarrassment. "I didn't mean to." "You don't need to explain," Ethan said gently. "You were overwhelmed. Anyone would react like that." Lyra stared at her soup, unsure what to say. She wanted to apologize, but a small part of her felt comforted by what happened. That confused her the most. Ethan noticed her silence. "Lyra," he said softly, "I don't think anything bad about you. Not because of yesterday. Not because of anything." Her chest tightened. She lifted her eyes slowly. "You really don't think of me as a pet?" He shook his head immediately. "You're a person. A young woman with her own thoughts and feelings." Her fur warmed again. It was strange hearing someone speak to her that way. In her whole life, nobody had ever told her that her feelings mattered. They finished breakfast quietly. When they were done, Ethan stood. "I want to show you something today," he said. "If you want to come." Lyra hesitated. Part of her wanted to hide in her room. Another part wanted to follow him everywhere. "What is it?" she asked. "The observation deck. The humans who work there watch the stars and collect data. I think you might like it." She blinked. Stars were beautiful. She had only seen them through windows. Seeing more sounded interesting. "Okay," she said softly. They walked down the wide hall together. Lyra stayed close but not touching him, her tail swaying gently with each step. People passed by, but nobody stared too long. Nobody tried to touch her ears or tail. That made her relax more than she expected. When they reached the observation deck, the doors slid open, revealing a massive circular room with a glass ceiling and walls. The entire universe looked like it was hanging above them. Stars, nebulae, distant planets, everything sparkled like millions of tiny lights. Lyra gasped softly. Her ears lifted fully, and her tail unwrapped from her waist, swaying behind her freely. Ethan smiled at her reaction. "Beautiful, right?" She nodded slowly, her eyes wide and glowing. "I didn't know the universe looked like this." He walked forward and stood near the glass railing. Lyra followed, her steps light and careful. She placed her hands gently on the cold railing and leaned forward to see more. "It feels like the stars are close enough to touch," she whispered. You sound happier today, Ethan said gently. She glanced at him. I feel something. I don't know the word. Safe? He suggested. She looked down. Yes, she admitted softly. For a long time they simply stood there, watching the stars. Lyra felt her heart calm in a way she hadn't known was possible. She wasn't being commanded. She wasn't being judged. She was just existing. And someone kind was beside her. Then a soft vibration echoed again through the station floor. Lyra stiffened instantly, ears shooting upright. The sound wasn't loud, but it reminded her of the mining tunnels collapsing. Her breath sped up, and her hands tightened around the railing. Ethan quickly stepped closer. Hey, he said in a low, steady voice. It's all right. It's the same maintenance cycle from yesterday. Her heart hammered, refusing to calm. Her tail curled tightly around her leg. Her breath came fast and shallow. Ethan didn't touch her. He just moved close enough that she could feel his steady presence. Lyra, he said gently. Look at me. She turned slowly, her chest rising and falling too quickly. You're safe, he repeated. You're not under a collapsing moon. You're here. With me. Nothing is going to hurt you. Her breath steadied a little. She felt the warmth from him again, grounding her. Without thinking, she stepped closer until her forehead rested lightly against his chest. She didn't realize what she was doing until she felt his slow, steady breathing. She pulled back instantly, cheeks burning. Sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean, Lyra, Ethan said softly. You don't have to apologize every time you feel scared. But I touched you without asking. It's okay, he said gently. You did it because you felt afraid. She looked down again. Embarrassed. But part of her felt warm because he didn't push her away. Warm because he didn't laugh. Warm because he understood. After a moment, Ethan sat down on a nearby bench and gestured for her to join him. Lyra hesitated only a second before sitting beside him. She didn't sit far away this time. She sat close enough that their shoulders almost touched. The stars shone above them. The room was quiet except for the faint hum of machinery. Lyra wrapped her arms around herself, trying to calm her heartbeat. After a few seconds, she felt Ethan glance her way. You know, he said softly, you're doing really well. She blinked. Yes, you're strong. After everything you went through, you still try. You still move forward. She stared at him, stunned. Nobody had ever praised her before. Nobody had ever said she was strong. Her voice trembled. I don't feel strong. That's okay, he said. Being strong doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means you keep going anyway. She stared down at her hands. Her tail slowly uncurled and rested gently across her lap. The warmth in her chest grew stronger. She felt seen, understood, comforted. She didn't know how to process these feelings. After a few minutes, she looked up at him again. Ethan, she whispered, why are you kind to me? Because you deserve kindness, he said simply. Her breath caught. She looked away quickly, hiding her face behind her ears. Her heart thumped in a strange, confusing way. They stayed like that for a while, silent but close. Lyra could feel her heartbeat slowing to match the stars' slow glow outside. She didn't want to leave this room. She didn't want the moment to end. After a while, Ethan stood. Do you want to walk around the botanical section? He asked. There are plants from many worlds. Some look like glowing feathers or soft blue trees. Lyra's ears perked up. Yes, she said quickly, surprising herself with her eagerness. They walked through the halls again. As they passed a group of workers, someone called out, Hey, is that the rescued Vulpine girl? Lyra tensed instantly. The worker wasn't unkind, but the attention made her tail curl tightly. Ethan noticed and subtly stepped between her and the group. Blocking their view without making a scene, she felt instantly safer. When they reached the botanical section, Lyra's eyes widened again. Glowing flowers, floating seeds, and gentle mist filled the air. Soft blue leaves brushed her hands as she walked past them. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "I thought you might like it." She felt her chest warm again. "You always think about what I might like." He smiled. "I'm trying to help you feel comfortable." She hesitated, then asked the question that had bothered her all morning. "You don't see me as helpless, right?" "No," he said immediately. "I see you as someone brave who survived something terrible. And I'm proud of you." Her heart fluttered strangely. Pride. She had never heard that word directed at her. They walked deeper into the garden, and Lyra stopped near a glowing tree with soft blue leaves. She touched one gently, watching it shimmer. Ethan stood beside her, and she could feel his presence again, calm, strong, patient. Lyra looked up at him, her voice soft. "I don't want to be seen as a pet," she said again. "You're not," Ethan replied, her ears lowered shyly. "Last night, when I sat on your lap, I felt embarrassed. But..." She hesitated, unable to finish. "But what?" Ethan asked gently. She swallowed. "But it felt... safe." Ethan didn't say anything for a moment. Then he spoke softly. "Safety is important, Lyra. If being close helps you feel grounded, it's okay." Her cheeks warmed under her fur. She didn't sit on his lap again, but she stepped closer, just close enough that her shoulder brushed his arm. She didn't move away this time. Ethan didn't pull back either. They stayed like that, standing quietly under the glowing trees. For the first time in her life, Lyra didn't feel alone. Lyra woke before the station alarms the next morning. She sat up slowly, rubbing her eyes with the back of her hand. Last night had been different from all her other nights on the station. Usually, she felt lonely, confused, or afraid. But yesterday, as she walked beside Ethan through the botanical garden, something had changed. She had felt safe, warm, grounded. Now, sitting on her bed in the quiet room, she pressed her hands over her warm cheeks and let out a small, embarrassed groan. "Why do I act so strange around him?" she whispered. "Why do I want to be near him?" Her tail curled around her waist, not in fear this time, but in a confused attempt to comfort herself. A soft chime rang from her door. She froze. "Lyra?" Ethan's calm voice came from the other side. "Are you awake?" Her heart fluttered. She jumped off her bed and hurried to the door, smoothing her fur quickly. When she opened it, Ethan stood there holding a small tablet. "Morning," he said warmly. She lowered her ears shyly. "Morning. I didn't bring food this time," he said with a playful smile. "I figured you might want to try eating in the cafeteria today. Only if you're ready." Her stomach twisted. The cafeteria was big, loud, and full of humans and aliens. The thought scared her, but she also didn't want Ethan to think she was too afraid to try. I can try," she said, though her voice shook. Ethan nodded gently. "We'll go early. Fewer people then." They walked through the halls together. Lyra stayed close to him, but she didn't cling. She didn't hide behind him. It felt different from her first days on the station. She was growing stronger, slowly but surely. When they reached the cafeteria, it was only half full. A few humans were eating quietly, and a group of alien engineers spoke softly in a corner. Lyra's ears twitched nervously at the sounds, but she forced herself to stay calm. Ethan picked a small table near the wall so Lyra could sit without feeling watched. He brought food for both of them, simple soup and soft bread, and placed it gently in front of her. Lyra picked up her spoon slowly. She looked around the room, her heart beating fast. People glanced her way now and then, curious but not unkind. Still, her tail tightened around her leg. Ethan noticed. "You're doing well," he whispered. She took a breath and focused on her soup. After a few minutes, her shaking slowed, and her tail relaxed. "I thought it would be scarier," she admitted softly. "New things always are," Ethan said. "But you're facing them. That's a big thing." Her eyes softened. "Thank you. Again." "What for?" "For being here." Ethan gave a small smile. "I told you. You don't face anything alone here." Lyra's chest felt warm again. She lowered her head so he wouldn't see her expression, but Ethan did anyway. He didn't mention it. He just let her feel what she needed to feel. After breakfast, he guided her out of the cafeteria. Lyra was proud of herself for getting through it without panicking. She walked with lighter steps now, her tail swaying gently behind her. They reached a quiet hallway, and Ethan stopped. "There's something important I want to show you today," he said. Lyra blinked. "What is it?" "Your new citizenship file." Her ears shot up. "Citizenship? Mine?" Ethan nodded. "The station council reviewed your case. You're no longer classified as a rescued asset. You're now an independent citizen of the station." Lyra stared at him, her mouth slightly open. "Independent? Citizen? Yes. Which means you have rights. Real rights. You are protected. You can choose where you live, what you learn, what job you want later. You're free, Lyra. Fully free." Her breath hitched. For a moment she didn't move. Then her legs began to shake. Free, a word she had never dreamed would apply to her. She looked at Ethan with wide, shining eyes. "Do they really see me as a person?" "Yes," Ethan said softly, "because you are." She covered her face with her hands. Tears didn't fall, but she trembled from the force of her emotions. For the first time in her life, the future wasn't a dark unknown. It was open. It was hers. Ethan placed the tablet in her hands. "This is your file. It's all official. You can read it later." Lyra held the tablet tightly, afraid it might disappear. She whispered, "I don't know what to say." "You don't need to say anything." But Lyra stepped forward anyway. She stood in front of Ethan, her heart pounding. She looked up at him with eyes full of gratitude and confusion, and something she couldn't name. "I want to stay near you," she whispered. "Not because I'm scared, just because it feels right." Ethan looked surprised for a moment, then gentle. "Lyra, you don't owe me anything." "I know," she said quickly. "That's what makes it feel different." He didn't answer right away. She stepped a little closer, her tail brushing the floor softly. "Do you want to take a walk?" he asked. She nodded instantly. They walked toward the observation deck again. Today it was empty, and the stars shone even brighter. Lyra pressed her hands against the cool glass, gazing out with wonder. "I used to think the universe was a cold place," she said quietly. "But now, it feels warm." Ethan looked at her. "What changed your mind?" Lyra hesitated. She wasn't sure how to say it. She curled her tail around herself and whispered, "You." Ethan blinked, surprised. "Me? You're the first person who lets me choose things. Who listens to me? Who doesn't treat me like something small or cute?" She looked down, shy. "You make me feel safe. In a good way." Her words hung between them, soft and sincere. Ethan didn't step closer, but his voice grew gentle. "I'm glad you feel that way. You deserve to feel safe." Lyra swallowed. "I still get scared sometimes. I still panic when the station shakes. I still hide behind my tail. But when you're near, I don't feel like I'll fall apart." Ethan sat on the long bench beside the glass wall. Lyra joined him without hesitation, sitting close but not touching. The closeness felt natural now. They watched the stars in silence for a while. Then, suddenly a loud announcement echoed through the deck. "Maintenance engines activating. All personnel please remain calm." The floor rumbled. Lyra's ears flattened. Her heart jumped. The sound was too loud, too sudden. Her breathing sped up, sharp and quick. Without thinking, she leaned against Ethan. Not by accident this time. Not from panic alone. Her body moved on its own, seeking the warmth and steadiness she knew only he could give. Ethan kept still, letting her choose how close to be. He didn't wrap an arm around her, didn't pull her in, he just stayed where he was, solid and calm. The rumbling stopped. Lyra realized how close she was and pulled back slightly, her face burning. She looked down at her hands. "I'm sorry." "Again, you don't have to apologize," Ethan said softly. "You didn't do anything wrong." She nodded slowly. But she still felt embarrassed. Her tail curled tightly around her legs. Ethan waited until she calmed a bit, then said quietly, "Lyra, can I say something?" She looked up with wide eyes. "What?" "You trust me," he said gently. "That means something important. And I'm not going to let you down." Her heart fluttered. She whispered, "I know. I know. I know." They stayed like that for a long time, watching the stars. Lyra's breathing slowed, matching the quiet rhythm of the deck. After a long silence, Ethan spoke again. "There's one more thing you should know." Lyra turned toward him, curious. "Now that you're an independent citizen," he said carefully, "you will be assigned a long-term guardian if you request one. Not someone who controls you, someone who helps you navigate the station until you feel fully confident." "A guardian?" she repeated. "Yes, and you can choose who." "Anyone." Lyra stared at him, feeling her chest tighten. She knew instantly what she wanted. But the thought made her cheeks heat, and her tail wrapped shyly around her. "Can I," she whispered, "choose you?" Ethan looked startled. For a moment he said nothing. His eyes searched hers, seeing the earnestness and fear mixed together. "Lyra," he said softly. "Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?" She nodded slowly. "You're the only person I feel safe with. The only one who makes the world feel less scary. I want to learn things with you. I want to walk around the station with you. I don't want to be alone." Ethan exhaled slowly, touched. "If that's what you want, then yes, I'll be your guardian." Lyra's eyes softened so much they almost shimmered. For a moment she didn't speak. She simply breathed slowly, letting the relief wash through her. Then she moved a little closer on the bench, not onto his lap, not impulsively, just close enough that their shoulders gently touched. Ethan didn't move away. Lyra whispered, "Thank you, Ethan." And Ethan answered quietly, "You're welcome, Lyra." They sat together beneath the stars. Two very different beings sharing the same quiet, warm peace. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt her future was bright, and she wanted to face all of it with him beside her.